Note: the following video depicts a specific configuration of the notebook. The same removal and replacement procedures apply to all configurations of the notebook. Before you begin, remove the battery, optical drive, if installed, service cover, memory modules, wireless module, keyboard, top cover, USB board, and hard disk drive assembly if installed. Removal. Important: make careful note of the routing of the display panel, speaker, and power connector cables for later replacement. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up on the optical drive ZIF connector and disconnect the optical drive connector ribbon cable from the system board. Caution: use care to prevent damaging the ZIF connector and ribbon cable. Disconnect the speaker cable from its connector on the system board. Disconnect the display panel cable from its connector on the system board, and remove the display panel cable from the routing channel that secures it to the base enclosure. Important: if the notebook is equipped with a touchscreen, disconnect the touchscreen cable from its connector on the system board. Remove the 5.5mm and 3mm P1 Phillips-head screws that secure the power connector bracket to the base enclosure. Remove the power connector bracket from the base enclosure. Remove the power connector from its cradle on the base enclosure. Remove the four 5.5mm P1 Phillips-head screws that secure the system board to the base enclosure. Grasp the right edge of the system board and lift the system board off of its alignment pins on the base enclosure. At an angle, slide the external connectors out of the cutouts in the base enclosure and remove the system board. Replacement. Note: before installing a new system board, remove the following from the old system board and install on the new system board: fan, heatsink, RTC battery, power connector cable, hard disk drive adapter cable. Tow the external connectors on the left side of the system board into the cutouts in the base enclosure and lower the system board onto its alignment pins. Caution: ensure that the display panel, power connector, speaker, optical drive connector, and hard disk drive adapter cables are free from being pinched between the system board and base enclosure. Replace the four 5.5mm P1 Phillips-head screws that secure the system board to the base enclosure. Place the power connector into its cradle on the base enclosure. Place the power connector bracket into position on the power connector. Replace the 5.5mm and 3mm P1 Phillips-head screws that secure the power connector bracket to the base enclosure. Connect the display panel cable onto its connector on the system board and route the display panel cable through the routing channel that secures it to the system board. Important: if the notebook is equipped with a touchscreen, connect the touchscreen cable into its connector on the system board. Connect the speaker cable into its connector on the system board. Insert the optical drive connector ribbon cable into the optical drive ZIF connector on the system board and press the locking bar down to lock the cable into place. Caution: use care to prevent damaging the ZIF connector and ribbon cable. Important: after system board replacement, Be sure to complete post-installation tasks as required that may include verifying functionality of the notebook, updating the BIOS, updating DMI and other settings, injecting Microsoft Windows 8 digital product keys,